When you think about businesses that are selling through the roof, like aloe or skins, sure, you think about a great product, a cool brand, and brilliant marketing. But an often overlooked secret is actually the businesses behind the business, making selling and for shoppers, buying simple. For millions of businesses, that business is Shopify. Nobody does selling better than Shopify. With Shop Pay, that boosts conversions up to 50%, meaning way less carts are going abandoned and way more sales happening. So if you're into growing your business, your commerce platform better be ready to sell whatever your customers are scrolling or strolling on the web, in your store, in their feed, and everywhere in between. Businesses that sell more, sell on Shopify. Upgrade your business and get the same checkout Skins uses. Sign up for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/Westwood1, all lowercase. Go to shopify.com/Westwood1 to upgrade your selling today. Shopify.com/Westwood1.
Hey there, listeners. Welcome to Shit That Goes Under Our Heads, the podcast where we normalize conversations around mental health.
That's right. I'm Dirty Skittles, and alongside my amazing co-host, G-Rex, we are here to share stories and tips from our incredible guests.
Each episode, we deep dive into struggles and triumphs of mental health, offering practical advice and heartfelt support.
Because no one should feel alone in their journey. Join us as we break the stigma and build a community of understanding and compassion.
Tune in and let's start talking about the shit that goes on in our heads. 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to another episode of Shit That Goes On in Our Heads. I'm here with the awesome Dirty Skittles, and today we have an amazing guest, Kim. Welcome, Kim, to our show.
Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited.
I
feel like I've been waiting forever to speak to you too.
Oh, really? That's cool. No, I'm really excited to hear your story. I was just off air, guys. I was complimenting the blue color that you have in your background. Where do you reside? Like, where are you located?
I live in Northern California in the wine country.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
You're living my dream life.
I'm living my dream life. Actually, my dream life would be living on a beach, but this works pretty well. Kind of lucky in this part of the world. I'm a few hours to a mountain. Actually, not even a few hours to a mountain, but I have several mountains to choose. Tahoe is close by, and the ocean is like an hour away. So I get a lot of good views living around here.
Did you grow up there?
Yeah, I was born in the San Francisco Bay Area and have lived pretty much here in this space, except for a few years in San Diego, one weird year in Redding, California. And then I did live in New York City for about 18 months. So the majority is right in this area.
I immediately want to ask you why the one weird year in Redding happened. Like, what made it so weird?
It was just so different from, I was young. I was like 12 years old when we moved up there, and it was so different. And it only lasted a year. And it was like, my dad got a job. He moved us up to this like cow town is what we thought of it, because we were suburb city kids. And this was like, hey, there's no sidewalks. And then the next thing you know, my dad's like, oh, this job didn't work out. We're moving back. And so it was kind of strange. Like, you get acclimated and then you're like, okay, well, this isn't going to work out. So hello, sidewalks.
You're like, we need our sidewalks. Get it back.
I was just getting used to not having them.
Nice.
It was okay.
So you must love Cali because you went to New York. You're back in Cali. What do you like? What occupies your time during here? What do you do every day?
Every day now is just about like what I teach and what I do, except for, of course, family and a husband and all that kind of stuff. I care for a 92-year-old father, which feels like a full-time job, especially because he was just out of the hospital after being in it there for almost 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
But yeah, I am so passionate about what I talk about and what I teach. And I just spend as much of my day as I can working on that, trying to do videos or write articles and try and promote and market. So that's my passion. So of course you want to do it.
Yeah. So what is it what is your passion? Can you share it with us?
Sure. Let's go back in time,
Okay.
a long time ago.
A long time
where it
ago.
all
Long
began.
time ago in a galaxy
Yeah.
far away. And it kind of feels that way now, but honestly, it was 2004. And I had put my ex-husband through chiropractic school and through all these things. We had built two businesses together, his practice and a running shoe store. And we had hired this fabulous person to work our front desk. And I was trying to get the running shoe store going. And it all fell apart because this fabulous person and my husband were having an affair. And my whole life, just went huge change. And I literally was laying on the floor of my condo and trying to figure this out. I was there. I know it was light when I went down and it was dark when I got up. So how much time transpired? Not sure. But the point is that my brain was just racked because this wasn't the first horrible thing that had happened to me. I was treated inappropriately by young teenage boys when I was young and multiple. And then I also had an alcoholic mother whom I love dearly, but it was a struggle having an alcoholic mother and having her die when I was way too young to lose a mom from it. And so I met my ex-husband. I thought, oh, here we go. This is the person to kind of save me and give me what I needed. And no. So what do I do? And that got me started on a journey. And I'm going to fast forward now. So we're going to move many steps. And in this journey, I had written a book, and then I was going to courses and trying to read other books. And I read this book called How Emotions Are Made, The Secret Life of the Brain. And it was like my brain just went, this is it. We construct our emotions. And so the logic side of me, because I've had a consulting business that is implementing workflows, processes, procedures, and helping specific types of organization or their property accounting department. And I thought this appeals to everything I am, like process, workflow. I was like all about it. And so that changed everything. And it led me to study more things and to investigate more about this term I learned called interoception. And it sounds like interception, but it's interoception, meaning, I like to say, it's how you catch your feelings. Just like if you intercept a football or any ball and run with it, that's how we catch our feelings, is through interoception. And so it led to this book I wrote now. It's been a year and a half ago, Yucky, Yummy, Savory, Sweet, Understanding the Flavors of Emotions. And so I can talk endlessly. So I'm going to pause here and let you ask me questions if you have them.
First question off the bat, why yucky, yummy? It's almost like food and emotions in my brain.
Right. It is.
Okay. Why that? How do they relate?
Because we use our perceptions, all of our sensory systems, to bring in data. And they're like ingredients that your brain uses to create your emotional responses. And so if we understand and look at ingredients, we're all used to that terminology, right? We know if we put this and this and this together, and then we label it with, this is my recipe for spaghetti. But spaghetti is very broad, right? Just like some of our emotions. I'm sad, but that can be used in a very broad term, or anger, or even love. And so it's about understanding how we're using these interoceptive ingredients. Perceptive ingredients, because interoception itself is a sensory system. And I'll get to that in a second, but it's how we take in these ingredients and then we have recipes in our head, how we have used these ingredients in the past. So everything that we believe, everything that we know, everything that we identify lives inside of us as a being. And so we create what we experience using those recipes. So if a recipe can be adjusted, doesn't that give us a lot more autonomy, a lot more sovereignty over our life? And I loved that idea because we experience the world within us. And if that's the case, we can change that world.
Yeah. Why do you think the book was so impactful for you? Were you able to apply it to what was happening with you at that moment in time where it was like, oh, I can figure out what's going on with me? Or did it just click for you and make sense?
It became a tool that I use for my life and a tool that I want to give other people for their lives. And one of the things that I learned is that, we're complicated beings. Yes, but we can do what we can to make a process that's a little bit more simpler. Well, we're never going to be perfect. We're never going to get our life like exactly how we want it, but we can get better at identifying our situations, get better at having a practice of looking more broadly, because unfortunately, those past beliefs and those past experiences can take our vision, take what we hear and narrow it, or even make it not real. Feel things that aren't true. And we have this idea like, oh, yeah, I believe it, so it must be true. I see it, so it must be true. I heard it, so it must be true. And that's not the case. We get information wrong all the time. And your brain has this thing of prediction. We predict our whole world. We think we're experiencing it real time, but we're really on a time delay. And so this allows us to recognize the fact, oh, I am on delay. So what am I missing? Where is my focus? And how can I bring in more of the ingredients that might change the recipe?
Yeah. Sometimes something will trigger me. Like it could be literally anything, right? Like or a conversation or maybe an argument or disagreement, and I'll get triggered and I will feel like the emotion happen. And one of the hardest things for me to do is to kind of dissect that a bit. Like, why do I feel like that? Because, so-and-so said whatever, like it runs deeper oftentimes, at least in my experience, where I'm like, oh, I think I'm associating how I felt like when I was a kid, or maybe something that happened to me. And, years pass to this conversation I'm having now where somebody's now triggered me and I'm pissed, essentially. It's hard to like stop and dissect what's going on with yourself.
It is. But if you have that awareness to say, oh, wait, this has something to do with nothing that's going on right here, right now. If like you can at least go, oh, this is bringing up, like I'm responding to how my mom used to treat me, but this isn't my mother in front of me.
Mm-hmm.
You just change the ingredients of your recipe by adding in that ingredient that this is not your mom. This is somebody else who has nothing to do with that situation. We can be, how do I put this? We can use our identity, or how we identify ourselves. And that can be a very broad identity and it can be a very narrow one. And I'm going to give you an example. I know this woman very close to me who has a daughter who had care providers because her daughter's on the spectrum. And there's problems, when people are getting a little habit, taking care of their people, because you kind of just get in a rut and you forget what you're supposed to do. So there was a meeting and everyone agreed like you're supposed to be doing this. And one person who had been talked to privately and said, you need to start doing this. You haven't been doing this. And this person responded, you're only saying this because I'm blank. And I'm not going to say what it was, but she took that as it's only because of how she identified herself. And it had nothing to do with it at all. So this triggering, or this how we view ourselves, or how we interpret one situation and apply it amongst all situations, is not working out for us. It can keep us from living the life we want, from being able to improve, because we say, oh, okay, I just need to do this. This has nothing to do with how I identify. This has to do with what I'm not doing or where I'm lacking and how I can improve so that I'm better at whoever I am or whatever I'm doing or what I want to be.
I was looking at your website and you have a little diagram of let me get there, of like starving, delicious, spit it out, and satisfied. And I'm thinking about like how I try and reframe my mind sometimes when I run into a situation, right? So like I'm angry, but I don't want to be angry anymore. So like, how can I do something that can counter that so I'm not angry anymore? And I think this is such a great little chart that you have because it would help me to reframe how I'm thinking and how I can take care of myself.
So if we think about food, because that's why I use food analogies. We can see a dish and it looks like a hot salsa and we can taste it and go, that's hot. And then go, wait, let me take a second taste. No, it's not hot. But we feel the same dish, the exact same thing differently just by re-examining and retasting it. And so it's so easy to use that same analogy to our emotions, right? Because we have physical, emotional reactions to food, and to flavors. So that's why I use that chart because it gives us this idea of, for those of you who aren't looking at my website right now, it's basically a diagram that they use for emotions. And what I did was kind of helped you to see your emotions in a different light, where if you're angry, it could be really spicy and unpalatable. And, if you're feeling really calm, it could be like a creme brulee, kind of soft and sweet. You know what I mean? And so when you start to relate your emotions to a flavor, it helps you to feel it in your body because not every pepper is the same. Some can be sweet and some can burn your mouth like a ghost pepper. So it's being able to distinguish those emotions as they come up and take that second taste, kind of dirty Skittles, like I was saying. When you go back to the situation and look at it and say, is this really what I'm reacting to? Like, if you know your trigger and if you learn what has to happen to make you feel that way, then you start to learn and uncover the recipes because that feeling could come up in multiple situations. But just like spaghetti can have different ingredients and then different labels for the recipe, we can have the same for our emotions. And they call that emotional granularity. So this gives us that ability to taste it and go, wait, I think I'm tasting this, but I'm not. It's not that bad. Or it's worse than I realized. And that second taste, it's got like a really horrible spice. And this is a situation I need to stay away from.
This reminds me of like when you try something new for the first, like this was literally me, G-Rex yesterday. Like you taste something and you're like, oh my God, that is awful. And then I'm like, wait, let me try it one more time. And then you taste it. And then sometimes I'm like, I need somebody else to taste it to see if they also think it's awful or is it just me? Like, I feel like that is how I relate a lot of stuff that happens in life. And it's clicking for me now, like being able to take something like you've just explained in a way that I can consume it easier. And I'm almost like, I don't know, G-Rex, did you know that there were different layers or different types of being mad or sad or angry? I don't think I knew that I could, like, I just thought mad was mad or angry. I thought it was the same.
I thought angry was just angry and sad is just sad, but there are different layers. And I just love, Kim, the way that you explain it to us, because you know what? I get to learn something new today.
I'm happy. I get to learn something new every day too. And it's about myself. And it's these emotions that teach us that. And if I could just talk about one thing that is really important to the work that I do, and that is Excuse me. I'm going to get one more sip.
It's all good.
There's one other thing that I find extremely important as related to this interoception. And I've got this new talk that I'm working on. And I started out by saying, okay, I want you to cover your ears. And so if you cover your ears and someone's talking to you, you might hear very little of it or barely any of it. And in order for them to hear you, they have to get really loud. And they'll be like, just screaming at you. And then you're like, oh, wait, I've got the vibration. And you might like let up a little bit. And then you hear the words and you might put it back down. And I make this analogy to our emotions. So interoception is literally communication. I like to say we're all living in oh gosh, Kim, I can't believe I can't think of the word, a menage a trois. We're constantly living in a menage a trois. And so we have our mind, which I call Emmy, EMME, who is constantly talking to us, but our body is talking to us too. And it doesn't use words, it uses sensations. And this is interoception. And so our body can talk to us and, give us these sensations. And then we have to interpret what it's saying. But the more that we put our hands over our ears and don't learn the language of our body, then we miss out in some vital communication. And so let me explain why it's vital. Interoception just isn't emotions like we think, anger, love, sadness, blah, blah, blah. Guys know the list and probably the short list because we all learn just a limited amount of words when we're kids and we don't always expand on it, which I'm trying to change. But when we listen and oh my gosh, I just kind of lost my train of thought there. When we are listening to our body and we learn that language, we are able to, feel into what we want more of and what we don't want. But the more important is that it's using, this is the point, it's using feelings to tell us that we're hungry. It's using feelings to tell us that we're sick. It's using feelings to tell us we need to go to the bathroom. Our heart is racing. We're in pain. So when we tamp down on that communication, we're not just tamping down on the ones that we think we don't want to hear. We're also tamping down on the ones that are vital. They're called homeostatic. And so homeostasis is how the body, stays in sync. So if we are thirsty, it's because we're low on liquids and we need it. And so we can ignore that just as easily as we can ignore our emotions because we're not comfortable. So the point is that this communication is really, really important. So when we shut down, I call that Mimi. So MEME. So when Emmy tells me, don't listen to Mimi, well, then we're getting into some troubles, right? Because we've got our thoughts going saying, we don't want to hear this. We don't want to know how we feel. We don't want to hear what the doctor has to say. We don't want to know like if our boss is mad at us or not. We shut down the communication, or we don't want to feel sad. We don't want to feel mad. So we shut it down, and then we lose our ability to feel in the good times too.
Yeah. How did you get to this point? Because we started your story and you shared that your husband at the time was cheating. You kind of are laying in your condo. Some time has passed. And now we see you where you are today, where you've got like this amazing philosophy tool practice that you're sharing with all of us. But what happened in between? Like, how did you get to a point where you could share that information with others?
Well, I've always been a yakker. And I'm never shy to speak in front of people. And so I will tell you, I feel like I'm born to do this work, and that all of this crap that happened to me is because this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I've tried many times to not do it. And I've got a drive in me that I can't explain that says, you need to do this, you need to get it out. And so I I stopped and started, spent a lot of money stopping and starting, and then just said, I've got to do this. And what got me here was this drive to make my life better, to make me understand me. Because if I don't understand myself, if I don't love myself, how am I really going to love others? Like, it all starts with me, but more importantly, it starts within me. So if I understand how I work, and if it helps other people feel like I feel, which is so much better about my process, like of understanding emotions. It's made me less afraid. It gives me a sense of calm when there's storms. Like I can rebound, like I can reframe much quicker than I did before. Not always perfectly and not always timely. Sometimes it takes me days to process, but I understand the process. And that's why I do this. Like it's been a search of looking at consciousness. And I think if I told you that story, you'd probably head would explode. But we are literally just a bunch of vibrating fields. And in the atom, what makes up everything, they say the old joke, why you can't trust an atom, because they make up everything. And there's nothing that does not contain atoms. And atoms are made of fields. And we are all connected by these fields. And I want a better world. I want better relationships. And when I know that even though the three of us are far away, we're connected by those fields, that is making me want to love you even more. Because when I love you, I love myself. And when I love myself, I love you. And if I'm using fear, in my life, that makes it way harder for me to do any of that because I'm tamping down to protect myself. And protecting myself isn't going to, I have to make sure that I'm really protecting myself from something, not an unwarranted fear. So every emotion is both positive and negative. It's just going to always be that way. Love can be positive and it can be negative. Fear can be positive, it can be negative. And so understanding when you notice the fear behind the love or the love behind the fear makes all the difference. So I don't know if I answered your question, but that really is what drives me.
No, that's beautiful. I mean, I wish I was maybe less fearful, right? I think that definitely I can completely understand how it has literally put like a wall in the way sometimes for things that I really want or really want to go and do. And, that's more for me to dive into with my therapist, I suppose. But I'm so curious, like, do you think you've always kind of had that mentality growing up as a child? Was there always something inside of you that propelled you into this career, do you think?
Well, I was always someone that people would come to with their problems. In fact, it was a joke that I worked with this consulting company and they're like, we're just going to put you on planes because everybody talks to you and you talk to everybody and you've met more people, and you just need to go around the country on a plane and bring in business. And it's true. People have always shared their problems with me. And so I've always had a keen interest in people. I also have this talent, I don't know, inborn talent, I guess. I can take like weird information and pull it together. And so I've taken a lot of disparate information and I think made something that's very palatable and consumable. And I also can take it in where it's kind of complicated and simplify it using the metaphors, the illustrations. In fact, in my book, I take these very crazy things, with science because I got to have some validation, right? And then try and use stories to help people understand how it works. So I think those two things are probably in there. And I think I'm just a natural teacher. I've always been a teacher and inside. Coach wise, I don't know if I'm the perfect, I guess I'm kind of a coach, but I think of myself really much more as a communicator, even more so than a writer. And I guess that's part of my makeup. And maybe I'm made up this way because this is what I'm supposed to do.
Like divine intervention led you down your path.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're all divinely intervened on, right?
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like my work is so important, is because if you're afraid of learning about yourself, if you're afraid of exploring your feelings, and your feelings are your main communication, think about it. Intuition is feeling. And depending on your framework and how you believe, if you do believe that we have, a higher spirit or spirit guides or a higher self, well, if we're going to be able to hear what they have to say, we've got to listen to our body and become in tune with that, and really just be more in tune with who we are. And we only get to know who we are by finding out what we want more or less of. And the only way we get to find that out is by having experiences and allowing those experiences to change us. And we can only do that when we're open to changing our beliefs and things that we may have been taught before. And so it takes a little bit of breaking up with the past in order to create a future that we want to be happy with. And there's so many people out here in the world right now who are unhappy with what's going on in the outside world. And I can tell you from experience, when you have your own inside world more solid, you're not as affected by the outside world. And you're not going to be tossed and turned with every, I kind of want to say, piece of shit comment that goes on out there, because, people are lying left and right. They exaggerate. The news just wants clickbait. And so that feeds our fear. But when we're like, oh, I'm solid in who I am. I know where I want to. I know, yes, there could be this ahead, but I also know it can change. Like nothing is solid. Our next step is unknown. Like we don't know. All we can do is be connected to ourselves and where we're guided, whether by, call it our intuition, our higher self, or just by what it is we know about ourselves, I think makes us the strongest person that we can be to face whatever life has to give us.
Yeah. What are some of the things you do every day to stay connected to you and what's true to you?
Well, I follow joy for sure.
Okay.
And I think that's a real guideline. Like when I'm, excuse me, when I'm not in a great space, I'm like, okay, what do I really want to do today? Like, I know I need to make a video. I know I need to work on this, but really, like, what do I want to do? And then I do it. And then it kind of opens me up for the work that I get done. And I'm happy. I have people in my life who challenge me. And I'm saying that nicely. And people, some of them, I don't really have a lot of choice that they're in my life. And so I've learned how to love them. And if you'd asked me that before, I'd say no. But I have. I learned how to love what I consider unlovable. Look at me, and now I have hiccups.
It's all right. It happens to all of us.
Yeah.
I was just in an interview with a man who he interviewed me, and he had hiccups the entire time. I'm out of it. But my point, though, is that I've learned to find love. And that's, once again, I have many variations in my recipes for love. And so I have learned to find love for what I consider the hard to love. And that has made a tremendous difference for me. And I observe on the spot reactions that I have to things and to people. And I'm like, okay, just like you said, you were triggered. Well, when I have a feeling and I'm like, oh, do I want to feel this way? And I think about what's going on. Like I am constantly examining my own recipes, my own feelings, And it's just a part of life. And it just gets easier because you don't take as long. And
right.
yeah. And when big things happen, I go through this process that I have in my book about what has to happen to make me feel a certain way. And that helps me to uncover recipes, because I don't feel like we need to always revisit the past, because we are layered in all of these things. You could say, oh, your mother did this or your dad did that, but it's all these layers that come in to make these recipes that we cook on a regular basis. So instead of saying who did what to me, who did this and how, what this came about, instead of going through all those, just look at what has to happen to make me feel this way. And then you uncover the recipes, and then you go, oh, wait, like, I don't want to cook that way. And once you see that that's what's happening, you can't undo it, right? Like, once you know it, you can't unknow it. And so then you start living life differently because your focus changes.
Can I ask you, you said something, and I'm so curious to dive more into it. You had said that you learned to love what you called unlovable.
Mm-hmm.
What does that mean? Does that mean, like, I'm very curious. Is it like you learned to love them, not how they needed you to love them, but what worked for you?
I learned to love them in this sense, and I talked about this earlier, because I don't care if you don't believe in science or not. The fact is, we are all connected energetically. We are all just a piece of that wave, and presenting in a different way than everybody else. And so we're all connected. And we're not going to see change until we understand that that's a fundamental of what we are. It is. So I give love to the unlovable to help me, because it brings up negative feelings. And I don't love them in the sense that I want to give them hugs and kisses,
Right.
but I want better for them. Because hurt people, we all come out with different experiences that turn us into something that we didn't necessarily intend or want to be. And we respond because we don't think about the predictions of life that we create, but that we just respond because we blame other people. So I keep that in mind. And I think I don't know what their background is. And so I want better for them, because better for them means better for me. And I made up a word, it's called res passion. And it's basically a combination of respect and compassion, which is, I think, falls under the umbrella of love. And it allows us to have those feelings for someone, to want better for them, and to not care what they think, what they believe, how they look, how they sound, because we put too much emphasis on that. When we're stripped down to who we are, we're all the same wave. And so focusing on those stupid aspects totally misses the point of who we are and why we're here. And it doesn't allow us to focus where we need to focus, and that's on ourselves. Spending too much time out there focusing on stuff that really doesn't impact you. If somebody's, wants to dress with blue hair, God love them. Like, what do you care, instead of having all this judgment around it? So instead, turn in, don't judge anybody, even yourself. Just have compassion for when you fail, and then that'll help you have compassion for when others seemingly fail you, and then use that failure to examine, like, why did you say they failed you? Like, what? Because it's always about you. Always. And this is where narcissism actually is a good thing, because when you recognize that other people's responses to you, or you think that their responses are, because it's all in here, you kind of learn, to look at yourself. Now, true narcissists don't, but at least they're thinking about themselves all the time, right? And I say that sarcastically.
Right.
They sure are.
Right? Yeah, all about them. And I'm trying to use it in a healthy way.
I know. I appreciate that. What are like your go-to tips and tricks?
My go-to tips and tricks. Writing is huge. If you can't get through something, if you are struggling with an emotion and you just don't know where it's coming from, we have this wonderful subconscious that will kick in if you do a few exercises. And there's this beautiful relationship between our hand and our brain. So when we go and write, and I don't mean write like you want to write a beautiful story or a letter, it's just free thinking and write stuff out. One of I think my favorite stories was during COVID when it hit. My consulting business took a pretty near fatal hit. And I knew inside that I better turn in this brand new leased car that I had because I wouldn't be able to afford it. And I was crying over this stupid car. And it's like, why are you crying? Like, why are you so upset? Like, why are you taking it so personally? And it wasn't only after I did this writing where you just write, you don't even question your grammar, your spelling, you just let everything come out. And 5 pages later, it all came out and it had nothing to do with it. It had nothing to do with it. It had to do with my own feelings about myself. It had to do with, I think, some expectations that were put on me externally. And I let it go. And that feeling never came back. And so that's why becoming friends with your feelings and understanding that they're a lot of the times not always true, and being able to get that emotional granularity, to be able to step back and see what your focus is. So I teach this new method. It's called the sensory sync method. And I just pulled this together, and there's 5 pillars. And one of them is understanding interoception and why it's so important. And the fact that we have never been taught about this is crazy to me. I think this is so important. I mean, we know about all the other systems. Why don't we know about this? And then the other perceptions and how they're ingredients to our emotions and how we construct those emotions that we use all the time. And our focus is a part of it too, is because we don't realize like there's 11 million bits of information out there. We're consciously aware of like 40 to 60. So I think that's like 0.00005% of all the data available to us we capture. And so understanding like how to work with our focus is really super important, because if you're in a situation and like I had said to you earlier, like you were highly focused on what triggered you. And so that's like going like this. You know, if you're listening to this, I have like blinders on like you would see with a horse. And so when you recognize that and you say, oh, my focus is bad. So then you open it wider. And then you learn to use that focus for what you want. When I was looking for a husband or at least a partner, and I had a list. And so my list helped me to focus on that. When you find the things that bring you joy, and by the way, my husband fit my list pretty much full on because that's what my brain was looking for. It helped me focus. Things like what you want more of. If you're thinking about all the things that you don't like, they talk about manifestation, but really manifestation is focused. So if you keep talking like, I'm not good enough, your brain hears you're not good enough, and it's going to point out to you, oh, she wants to know everything you're not good enough in. And then that's what your focus is. Whereas if you're focusing on something different, that's what you'll see more of, like of the things that you want. And that's what is so important. You call it brain training, but it's really recipe training. It's working with the emotion chef. When I talked earlier about the menage a trois I have going on, me is the one who does the chefing, because that is my brain who's delivering these recipes to my body, right? So the brain sends out these signals, we capture them. And then if it's not working for me and I want to change the recipe, I'm the only one who can work with Mimi to change them. And then I can talk to Emmy and say, hey, Emmy, stop with this. We're not on board with this. We're changing our tune, Emmy. And every time you come up with this, I'm going to talk, to Mimi, we need to get a stronger recipe. So it may sound kind of silly, but these are all true factors in your life that play into your happiness, to your relationships, to your ability to be successful in whatever it is that you want to be successful in.
Well, since emotions have flavors, I'm curious what your favorite flavor is.
Gosh, that's hard for someone who not only loves food and wine. Okay, so it could
be like a bouquet, right? Wine's got a couple of different, if that helps you.
Well, I guess I just love, this is hard because oddly enough, I love peanut butter every morning. I love peanut butter. I guess if I was to be on a stranded on a desert island, I'd say just give me a lot of peanut butter. I do love peanut butter, but I love so many different things because we have so many different flavors and flavor combinations like lemon. I love lemon desserts. Oh my gosh. Lemon cupcake or lemon cake. I'm gluten-free. So there's this one gluten-free maker makes these lemon cupcakes. Oh, so delicious. Yeah. But you can see why I like to use food as metaphors because we have emotional relationships with them.
Right. I love a key lime pie. I love lemon curd. I'm just going to eat the curd itself. I don't even need. Yeah, I'm I love it. So I get it.
We're making lemon curd ice cream tonight.
Oh, that sounds delicious.
Okay, you want to hear a really good recipe for ice cream?
Yeah.
I had this in Spain, and it was, when we were in Barcelona, we had it every day. It was kind of like a really creamy vanilla ice cream with ricotta, caramel, and figs.
Sign me up.
I gotta tell you, oh my gosh, have you ever heard of a food-related orgasm?
Yeah, I certainly have.
Okay, we call them froze. That thing was a fro. It was so delicious. We were just like, oh my God. But I gotta tell you, a lemon curd ice cream sounds very fro-worthy.
Nice.
Yeah, I had a fro moment last weekend. I had the best lobster ravioli I've ever had in my entire life. And it literally took my breath away. It was so good.
This whole asking for favorites, it's really difficult because I love lobster. When we were in New York, my husband and I went to Town. And so they had lobster everything, and I'm a lobster freak. I had lobster practically every meal, and I'm like, why aren't I tired of lobster? Still am not. So, it is hard. Now that you said that lobster ravioli, you're making me go.
See, this is how I roll. So I have a question for you, and it's kind of a fun one. If your anxiety had a theme song, what is it and why?
If my inside had a theme song.
No, your anxiety.
Oh, my anxiety. Okay. What came to my mind first was a video that some little girl named Savannah, and she sings, "Today's gonna be a great day. Don't be sad or mad. Just let your heart make your heart glad," or something like that. Like she just sings this cute. Here's this cute little tiny girl, and she says, "Because today's gonna be a great day," and that comes into my head because you've got to hear. I'll send you the video, and so. I have this client. I have one other consulting client still from my old world as I make this new world happen with Sensory Sync. And so I was really struggling. The things going on in that company was bananas. So I would play it before we'd have a meeting. Okay, guys, let's watch the video of Savannah singing because today's going to be a great day.
Oh my God, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Love that. Where
and I just want to,
oh, go ahead.
I just want to say one thing. And this also hit in my head, so I feel like I need to say it,
okay.
Is that you can only feel one emotion at a time. So if you are having a lot of anxiety, what is the emotion that would cure anxiety? Laughter.
Mm-hmm.
If you are suffering from sadness, laughter. You think about, finding something that brings you joy, or going out and taking a walk, things to change the emotion, because anger can't live where joy does or love does. It just doesn't. It can flavor it if you let it, but you truly, and then that was when it comes to the overall recipes, but you truly can only feel one at a time. So why not make that choice? And when you feel like you can't, go find some external source to change it.
I love that. I feel like that is like the perfect way to tie up this episode. Like, thank you so much for sharing everything that you've shared. Where can our listeners find more about you?
You can go to kimkorte.com, or you can also find out about sensorysyncmethod.com. If you go to sensorysyncmethod.com, you can find out more about it. And there's links to both within either site. And it's just a baby. Sensory Sync is just a baby still. But I'm launching workshops, 2-hour workshops, 6-week course. And I will do one-on-one coaching to do it if someone doesn't feel comfortable. Yeah, I'm very, very excited about it.
This was such a great episode. I learned a lot.
Yeah, I follow joy.
Yeah, I like the follow joy. I liked how everything syncs together. So thank you for teaching me something new today.
Well, it's honestly, my greatest pleasure. And if I help anybody in the slightest way, that is what brings me joy. So you can see why I want to do this work.
So good. So good. Hi, all. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I'm G-Rex.
And I'm Dirty Skittles.
Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. We'd love to listen to your feedback.
We can't do this without you guys.
It's okay to be not okay. Just make sure you're talking to someone.